Cloudcast Media presents from the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Brian Gracely, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the Cloudcast. We're coming to you live from MesosCon here in Seattle. First off, huge thank you to the Linux Foundation once again for having us as a media sponsor. Nick Weaver joining us as a co-host again today. How you doing, Nick?
I am awesome. How are you?
Good. Now, this is actually interesting. This is a record. The fastest follow-up podcast in Cloudcast history here. We have Jeff Dickey from Redapt, Chief Innovation Officer. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. So it goes back just probably a couple episodes, honestly, back to DockerCon back in May. We actually received really awesome feedback, quite frankly, both positive and negative, but towards the Cloudcast, not towards you, on the show. And it was really some folks, because it was John Griffith and you and I, and we were cutting on Docker a little bit and kind of doing positives and negatives of Docker, but folks really kind of wanted to know about really Redapt specifically. And so you've built some pretty large clouds. I would actually dare say you've built more large-scale clouds than any other reseller in the world that I know about personally. And so what I wanted to do is kind of just take some time today and really dig into that a little bit of, what do customers look like? What do those engagements look like? So just kind of start at the start. When Redapt, customer comes to them and says, hey, I want, I don't know, quote unquote, a cloud, right? What is that typical customer? What kind of market? Give us kind of the super high level and we'll dig in from there.
Yeah, on the super high level. I mean, and I'll say too, we've built some big clouds, but we build small clouds too. Like we like to seed it. So I'm always telling customers, you can't build your cloud native applications, your cloud apps until you have a cloud to give your developers. So we seed a lot of clouds, a lot of half rack. OpenStack clouds. We're doing the half rack Kubernetes and container stuff. We're trying to seed these into the enterprise so that developers have the same platform that they could experience on public cloud, but they have that experience inside their four walls. And so typically they're coming to us, and a lot of our customers we get from existing accounts that move on to new jobs. And they say, hey, you guys did a good job helping us out, so we're trying to build out some cloud infrastructure here. And we come in and we typically do a workshop. We try to discover, what do you really want? Do you really want a cloud? Because a lot of stuff we do, you have the whole, all the cloud definitions, and there's a lot of, self-service and different things like that. And some just want automated infrastructure at scale. They don't necessarily want the self-service. They call it a cloud, but it's not, really a cloud. So we try to define really what it is they're looking at. Like, what are those objectives? And we really get into kind of the business of IT and what are the business units requesting, requiring, and demanding of you guys in operations, and how do we make that easy and transparent for you guys? What is that? And I would say some of our folks come to us opinionated, saying, hey, we need you to build us an OpenStack cloud. And we go, okay. But
I want to put my SharePoint in the cloud.
Yeah. So distributed SharePoint is kind of the trend we're seeing in 2015.
The SharePoint conference is actually next door.
Is there one, really?
There's actually the next building over. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I'm sure
he just made us all speechless.
There's a guy I was talking about. A guy who said, I just love SharePoint. And he had passed right by him. And then I thought it was... Never mind.
That's fine. There's probably not a lot of folks going back and forth between the conferences.
No,
there's because OpenStack Day's happening
yes,
just next door, but there's probably not a lot of folks going back over to SharePoint Day. Yeah, we ask some tough questions, because a lot of times when people come to us and say, hey, we want an OpenStack cloud, and we say, why? Why? We want to dig down and find out what the requirements are and figure out, is that an OpenStack use case? Because it's not all. We do get folks that come to us say we don't like we've got a ton of VMware and we want to go OpenStack, and we'll say no. We don't.
And does that come from business side of the house? Does that come from developers? Kind of wanting different needs? Like, obviously, 9 times out of 10, it seems like this is not driven by the infrastructure folks.
No, that's usually executives. So that's in the C-suite or VPs that will be in meetings, and they'll. And what's funny too is it may be a straight OpenStack cloud from the developers, but then the VPs get wind and they say, hey, we will this get rid of our VMware licenses too? Let's try to do that, and we have to really explain that it's different. Your VMware is great; it kicks ass at what it does. Like, keep that going, but treat this as a greenfield new cloud. And again, that's just kind of lessons learned. The more legacy you drag into your cloud, your OpenStack cloud, the just more problematic it becomes.
Yeah, and so I was actually feeds into kind of my next question of the usual kind of target environment when you're trying to kind of influence these, especially with kind of a repeat customer where you're sort of treated as that trusted advisor in the account. And from my experience as well is it very much is a build a fence and a little bit of starve the old, build the new. If you're going to build new apps and you're going to have developers doing things different ways, and you might as well build new infrastructure as well.
I think so. Over the last 5 years of doing this, I think what's really kept cloud moving forward was the scale factor. Was we need to get the cost down, and therefore we need to build it big and get better pricing and discounts, and let's think large, let's think in the hundreds and thousands of nodes. And the cloud would never happen because it's, everyone's thinking too big. And then it'd come down to a budget thing where, you're still trying to feed the existing business. You don't really have another $500,000, million, $5 million to sink into a new greenfield cloud, and then these things get put on hold. And so we've been doing, I think, a pretty good job in helping our customers start as small as possible, small and scalable. It doesn't have to be a monstrous system to be scalable.
I think a lot of people don't realize that cloud and applications have requirements, right? They don't. It's not like every cloud fits every app. Like the OpenStack example you just gave, right? Like VMware's darn good at legacy, right? They built a platform intended to run anything going back to like freaking NT.
Yeah.
Right.
And in your instance there, you didn't really need to assess requirements because it was just lift and shift.
There were tools that would switch the whole thing in your data center over automatically over a day.
Yeah.
Right. And there were resources for it. But with like the new cloud stuff, Twitter built their stuff custom to run on Mesos, right? And there's this customizability piece. And the first taste thing is so interesting because you get into that bare, it's like the MVP, like the minimal viable products, the minimal viable infrastructure. It's the minimal viable cloud in a way. You get just enough of a taste to start figuring out what you do have to change and start going that direction without having to get that big, huge CapEx bite off. And then you can slowly grow into it because the cloud will scale, but you don't scale necessarily, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we've spent a lot of time building out these kind of half rack blueprints and accelerator packages, because you can have a full a truly HA OpenStack cloud in a half rack for very all in. It's pretty inexpensive. You can have the same thing in multiple flavors of Kubernetes orchestration on a few of our different partners, and it's ready to go. Like start there, and you're going to, when your developers get on that, you're going to have different requirements than you think you have. Have
you had customers that want to try multiples? Because that's an interesting thought too. If you can get in that small, you can say, give me one of each and let's see which one fits best for me.
Yeah, it's changed a little bit again over the last couple of years of doing cloud, where everyone was trying to do bake-offs of distros.
Yeah,
and that was extending. That was putting your cloud out a year, because you're bringing in Ubuntu, you're bringing in Mirantis, you're bringing in a MetaCloud, and we worked with a large kind of airplane company, going through that process of everything. And we're like, well, you still don't have a cloud, we're still and I think when
they're not that different, or they weren't at the time.
No, and the cloud type B stuff and the the Kubernetes has really changed that, because you're writing apps to another abstraction, or abstracted layer that you can say, well, I can land it anywhere. I think people have spent too much time kind of committing to technologies when the technology is going to change faster than you are able to implement it.
Right.
So, I talk to our customers about spend time and money on the physical orchestration and those tools and the DevOps automation, because you plan on ripping and replacing your infrastructure multiple times over in the next 5 years. Like it is going to change. So don't worry about making a bet. Plan on change and figure out it should be fluid. And containers are helping that, and you can have an OpenStack environment because you're using Murano and Kubernetes, and you can use Triton, and you can use a Tectonic. You can have different landing places for these in your different locations around the world.
And these little racks too. I mean, in a way, it's there's you mentioned get used to change and like DevOps, and there's also there's a training problem where like the staff has to learn how to use these new things. It's a lot easier to figure it out when there's 4 or 5 nodes than when there's 500, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier for a CIO to make the bet from a staffing standpoint for that than to make the huge bet for 500. It's a lot easier to say, hey, let's let some of our aggressive up and comer women and men go play with this thing and learn it and see how they do.
Yeah. Well, and let me ask you this. So you kind of have almost 2 lessons learned there, of one of them being start small and scale out. You definitely have an architecture that supports that. The other one being the virtualization. And because virtualization almost spoiled us and we didn't have to have requirements, but you have to have requirements with this. Yep. Would you consider one of those 2 like your biggest lesson learned, or is there even another lesson learned when it comes to building all of this?
Boy, there's so many lessons learned. I mean, I'll throw out another one.
He's learning one right now, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say there's 3, and there's use training wheels to learn how to ride your bike. Mm-hmm. You don't need to get on a steep concrete hill and jump on the bike heading downhill at 60 miles an hour. You even if you have the talent in-house, I think it's important to find partners and vendors that will hold your hands and get that running and accelerate that whole process, and then train and get your folks used to that and get that documented so you can bring on more people as they come into the environment, instead of the do-it-yourself. Because the do-it-yourself just takes a long time, and you really get trapped in a lot of Franken clouds. Yeah. When you have that.
Franken cloud, I've heard that in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. You get into that. So it is like invest up front,
right,
in it, and plan to be doing it yourself in the future, but not immediately.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and so do you think the barriers to adoption, are they technical? Are they political? Are they cultural? All of the above?
From my kind of living in the cloud world for this amount of time, I really think we've been throwing too much technology at the problem, which is building out a cloud. And what I mean by that is and I don't know if I said this in the last podcast because I talk about this a lot. It's the business of IT needs to change first. And I think we've thrown technology at it. I mean, even simple things like chargeback, where you have to change in a decent sized organization. So much has to change in the business for chargeback to work effectively.
Yep.
So you can spend all the money you want in building this cloud and doing all that, but it won't be effective. So we, as in the cloud community, I think need to do a better job of getting in there and helping the business of IT change and evolve along with the technology, because the business of IT is dragging compared to. I mean, look at what we have. We're at the point where look at what Mesosphere is doing, what Kubernetes is doing, and you can run Kubernetes on Mesos, and everything is moving so quickly, but the business of IT is still the same.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's huge portions of the country that are waking up every day and doing IT don't know any of this stuff. And I mean, people got to realize that. I mean, there's still people I know in IT who don't read blogs, they still read a physical magazine. Like those, like they still like want to get those in the mail information, or they'll go talk to their local SEs only. And there's only people that get their information about. And so the amount of education between the difference between what Twitter's been doing and what the mom and pop shops do is still pretty massive.
Yeah.
The Cloudcast needs a print magazine.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Well, being Aaron on the cover, it'll sell like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Waiting for the calendar.
Yeah, this podcast just went into the ditch. All right, so let me ask you this. If you had to label an industry or a customer type that you would consider kind of the poster child for success, what would they look like?
Oh, wow. I think the born on the web folks that are. I mean, it's kind of an easy place to be. I mean, you look at, I don't want to call it any names, but the folks that have been in business for less than 6 years have more agility and can
Just
do
less
things.
technical debt, less baggage.
Less debt. So you have to be on. There's two sides, and I don't know if we talked about this today, but there's the brand new companies, there's the startups, and then there's the mega, Fortune companies, and each one has the best use case for adopting this new technology, because one's agile and can do anything, and the other one, has enough money and knows it can save the money. By implementing these new technologies, they're actually saving millions and millions. They're not really spending millions. They're saving that by implementing this stuff. The banks were the first ones to do VMware.
Yeah.
At massive scale. And you're thinking, a bank, the huge organization, we work with a couple of the banks have, 100,000 servers under VMware management. And, they saw that. So the folks I'm working with at the banks they've got their R&D teams looking at all the new technologies and trying to see what works. And then the web tech folks that, if technology is your business, you need that edge. And you've got to constantly be looking for that edge in your business.
Makes sense. Absolutely. So I think we're kind of out of time for this week, Jeff.
Nick promised some tough questions to me today.
Oh, okay. No, wait, hold on.
What happened?
Nick, yeah. Come on, Nick.
Tough questions. All right. If you were to buy any tech company today, which one would you buy?
Which one would I buy?
Ooh, this is a good one.
This is a good one. So I would buy Mesosphere for $1 billion.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. That was a rumor that went out. Mesosphere. I think I might buy Mesosphere. I think they've got something. I mean, can I buy two companies?
I want you to pick one that's not easy. One that would surprise us, maybe.
One that's surprised. See, I don't know, because I'm a huge fan of QStack from Green Cloud.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a fan because
awesome.
It's the ability to run any of these new technologies on virtualization or bare metal. And it just solves a lot of the complexities that, as a consulting organization, I hate it. Because it takes away a lot of our consulting revenue,
right.
Because there's not a lot of work to do. But OpenStack we love because it's a lot of consulting dollars.
Right.
I would probably pick Green Cloud. I like the team and I like the technology. But I don't know. Things are moving so fast. Yeah.
Okay, another tough question.
Sure.
What famous tech personality we know about today in 3 years we won't know about? Will disappear?
A person or a technology?
Person.
Ooh.
That's a rough one.
That is a rough one.
Who will be off on an island, or it didn't work out, or who is all over Twitter today, and in 3 years will say, oh, what happened to that person?
Either burn out or just make the
burned
money.
out, bought out, anything. You could use any kind of excuse,
Make the
but they
money
disappear.
and go home.
Pulvey.
Dang.
He's gonna make it big.
Okay.
And he's going to be on an island, and he's going to invite me.
Yeah. So
And I'm going to hang out with him on his island.
So just for those that don't know, Alex Pulvey, CEO, founder, CoreOS.
I think he's going to do well.
Yeah, he's a smart cat, isn't he?
He's very smart, and I like what they're doing, and I like that. I mean, he's very passionate, and the whole team is very passionate about solving security on the internet. I mean, they're securing the internet, and I think they're it's every day it becomes more important. Security is like top, and now it's how does it get up and move up and higher on the radar. So I think we should expect some great things out of Pulvey. Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
You had a tough one for him?
No.
I could keep going. I think about these all the time. All right.
So this is
one
this
last
is
one.
Deep insight into Nick's psyche here.
All right,
this is what he does.
In the last,
Go ahead.
Let's pick 4 years. Last 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, let's put more in OpenStack time frame. 5 years.
Okay.
Last 5 years, you could have been in the founding team in any single tech company.
Yeah.
But you can't choose it for a monetary reason. Which one would you have been on the team?
Oh, on the team?
Which team would you have wanted to be on? But not for monetary reasons. So let's say you would have made no money, but you could have been a part of it.
Redapt's older than 5 years, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't count. You know what? It's got to be OpenStack?
No. I'm trying to include OpenStack companies by
OpenStack.
going back far enough.
In 5 years.
The last 5 years, you could have been a part of that team and worked on it, but you made no money, so not
Yeah.
a monetary reason.
You know what? This is going to be a shocker, but I'd say Nebula.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Nebula. I think they were just early,
Yeah.
and I would have liked to work on that team. And I would have
They were a
liked
talented group.
It was a talented group. I would like to have been a part of it, and I think they were on to something, but too early.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So the reason you asked that question is to figure out which ones were untapped potential, because if you take the monetary element out, it changes everything.
No. And I'll say this too. I somewhat agree with that. We had Nebula running in lab during the day job, and it was OpenStack Silicon Valley last year. It was they were doing the in between the talks. It was like a lightning pitch almost kind of deal where Kemp got up on stage and like a minute.
Yeah. I remember that.
Like just completely nailed why you would want to buy them and why it was cool. And it was like mic drop, walk off the stage. Because everyone else the entire day did it. I don't even remember who the other ones were, but all the other sponsors did it and quite frankly just screwed the pooch. I mean, they just did awful on all the rest of them. And he just kind of walked up. He didn't even use his whole time. He was like, this is why, whatever, I'm out. Come talk to me.
Yep. And I think that just
unfortunate
great
ending,
technology.
but
Yeah.
So. I think, and I wish there was something that could have kept them going, and just a little pivot of the business model. I think it should have been a managed appliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
some of those things are really difficult to understand because a lot of the OpenStack stuff was the first time that's ever happened. Like that kind of forming. Like there's no way to know what the right angle for some of the. I mean, now it's in hindsight, it's easier to look at if you had done this and that, but that was net new patterns in the way we're doing computing. A central. I mean, we had done commercial stacks forever. I mean, VMware was a wild card with another commercial stack back in its day. But before that, it was all Microsoft, or it was all mainframe, it was all that stuff. So it's. I think maybe it's good advice for anybody that's going to go through the current container scheduler, cloud type B scenario, is to look back at some of these companies and figure out where was the mistakes in OpenStack.
Yeah. Or what's timing of market?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just being there right time.
That's a really good point, yeah.
So, interesting.
Well, they're doing some cool stuff now over at Oracle.
I was about to say, you can still work with them if you'd like to call Ellison up. I hear there's an island in it for you. So
That would be awesome, because as long as they're Wi-Fi.
I think the island has cats on it. If you guys saw the article, that his island's and got 1 billion cats on it. He loves cats, and there's cats all over his island.
Like wildcats?
Like just domestic, feral wildcats, just all over the island. It's just an island full of cats. Apparently, Larry Ellison's a cat lady. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was going to say he's the old cat lady. That's just creepy.
It's just weird. I don't know how he got that subject, but I thought I'd bring it up.
Does he have a private jet that flies in cat food?
Well, the other weird thing was apparently he's never been to that island. So he bought the island. He's got cats on the island, but he's never been to the island.
Huh.
Maybe he doesn't like cats, and there's too many cats on the island.
No, because there's this whole other.
Now he's like, there's too many damn cats.
Whole
on my
other
island.
story about him in mourning over cats dying because he likes cats. Yeah. Huh. I don't.
All
Sorry,
right, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Hashtag cat island.
Yeah, I think Nick's just making shit up at this point.
Yeah, probably.
That's how it starts.
Let me be clear. Most of the time, Nick makes shit up.
All right, that works too. All right, we're cutting it off. We're out of time. Jeff, where can everyone find out more about you and what you have going on?
So I'm at Jeff Dickey on Twitter. I do a podcast called OS Pod. You can it's at OpenStack Pod on Twitter, and that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today, and thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more shows, show notes, videos, and everything social media.